OCO, and welcome to this month's Cherokee Artist Showcase. As many of you know, the Cherokee Art Market is being held virtually this year, and we are here with one of the artists participating in the virtual market. I guess I really need to say he's not just participating, but he is winning awards in the market as well. Today we're going to be speaking with Troy Jackson. He is a Cherokee National Treasure. Troy's winning artwork from the 2019 Cherokee Art Market has been featured on all of the 2020 Cherokee Art Market marketing materials. So that's been a beautiful work of art in addition to Cherokee Art Market. In this year's virtual Cherokee Art Market, we would like to congratulate Troy because he won a Best of Class in sculpture, and he also won a third place award in pottery. So congratulations, Troy.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we are so happy that you're here to join us today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for inviting me to do this. And it's really interesting.
This is a new concept, isn't it?
It is a new concept for me, yes.
Well, we're happy. The day that we're filming this, if anybody is interested, we have had anywhere from 5 to 7 inches of snow. So we are safely distancing, and now we're happy to be able to do this and not have to get out in the snow so much, right, Troy?
Yeah, that's a plus.
Yeah. Okay, Troy, we do want to talk about your winning pieces and the piece that's on the 2020 Cherokee Art Market. But before we do that, I really would like to hear your story about your journey as an artist. And I won't tell everything, but I do know that you really haven't been doing sculptures relatively that long and winning these awards. So would you just tell us about your journey as an artist and how it all began and where it's brought you to date?
Sure. I've always known that I was an artist, even at a young age. I remember reading books, and the first thing I would do is to go through all the pictures and study them first. I remember taking tests in magazines to see if I would qualify for, some type of art school. And what was funny is that they would always send me a reply telling me that try again when I was older. And through these years of high school and grade school and high school, that's all I thought about was art. And that's what I continued to do all the way through college. College was probably the best thing that happened to me. I got the chance to attend Bacone College in Muskogee in 1975, and it just opened up many doors. And so I continued through. I took my undergraduate work at Northeastern State University and continued a graduate program at the University of Arkansas. And I think when I got to Arkansas on my graduate work, it was probably the finishing touches that I needed to continue a career in art. I think it gave me a boost. It gave me a direction, even more so than what I had. It wasn't easy being a Native American artist at first. I tried different. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
You go right ahead.
Well, I think the biggest change happened when I seen a Asian art show, a pottery show, and I just thought it was so great that that they were so impressed. I mean, they were so dedicated to their art, to their pottery, and I just remember thinking that, gosh, I wished I had a heritage that was that involved with art. And lo and behold, I was a Cherokee, and I think at that point I decided that I wanted to be a Cherokee artist because of the heritage and of the just the work that they were doing in our culture.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, Troy. If you don't mind, I just want to tell a personal story about your journey. And I know you and I have talked about this a lot in the past. When I first met you, it was at the Cherokee Artist Association. I believe it was around 2008. Mm-hmm. And you had your pottery studio set up in the back of the building. And I remember going down there with a coworker and seeing your beautiful functional pottery. It was, you had beautiful plates. And I remember just thinking that you had this beautiful salad bowl that I thought, oh, that is so gorgeous. And I thought I'd love to have something like that. And now to see where you are today, I wish I had bought that salad bowl back in the day. You really have, I have seen your progression, from what I knew Troy Jackson as, with the functional pottery all the way through that. You did have a period where a lot of your artwork and your sculpture, I think, did have that Asian influence, if I remember correctly. And yes, then now, yeah.
And that was a lot of the problems that I had because I was doing Native American work, and at the same time throwing in an Asian influence. And I'm not saying that there's not a lot of diversity in Native American work, but there were some traditional ideas and traditional work itself that I think I needed to go back and to study and to basically find out exactly where I was coming from. And so I did. But my goodness, it was years before I would even win an award. And so I was so excited to win that it just increased my encouragement to continue.
Well, I know, speaking of, it is amazing that in reality, you've been doing sculptures just about the last decade, maybe around, 10 years or so. And speaking of your style, how that has changed and transformed over the few years, you definitely have a distinctive style now. Can you share with us and talk to us about how you came to be in this very style with this clay, the clay and the metal, and then there's just certain elements in your work that make it very much a Troy Jackson piece of work?
Well, I'm really glad you asked this question because it's probably the hardest question for me to answer. I'm not sure I truly understand what my style of art is. Again, I know that during graduate school, I was strongly influenced by Asian art and the Asian pottery, and mainly because of their identity in producing generation after generation of potters. And I recall, and as I said, it was at that point that I realized what I needed to do as far as art was concerned. I was a Cherokee, and I was part of one of the richest cultures in the world. And I guess you could say it was a wake-up call. Today, I incorporate steel bases with clay figures, clay figurative figures. The steel base signifies strength and endurance. Gears and cogs are attached to its surface in representation of the Industrial Revolution and the tradition it had on both the Cherokee and European way of life. The clay, in contrast, the clay figures are representational of the concept, detailed in content and subject matter, as if clay form is a particular family member or someone that I've been or am now acquainted with. I tend to know these acquaintances personally and share an understanding with their stories. And for the most part, they are a genre of working class people who share a quality of direct similarity with my identity. And that is one of the things that I hope is being portrayed in my work.
Yeah, it's phenomenal work. Thank you for sharing that. That's very impactful. It says a lot about, and it gives us a lot of background. And when we see a piece of your work, we realize what the foundation of that work is. So thank you so much for sharing that. When we talked earlier, I had asked you how long you had been entering art shows. So let's talk about that a little bit. I know you told me initially you think maybe the first one you entered was maybe in around 2005. Tell us about those early shows entering, and then, the successes that you have had up to now and how those have impacted your artist sales and commission pieces and things like that.
Well, as I stated, it didn't start out very well. I had a rough time. And actually, I remember doing a lot of praying that something would happen. And at this time I was doing a lot of functional pottery, which I have to say that functional pottery is Native American work.
Yeah,
I think it's
absolutely.
the strongest part of Native American work.
Absolutely.
But as far as the competition pieces, I think that the pottery today is more sculptural. It's more ornate. It's the process of seeing how well we can perform the work and how well we can attract viewers. So for me, there wasn't much going on until one day that I decided to put a sculpture on one of my pottery pieces, and lo and behold, I finally won a grand prize at the Trail of Tears art show, and the piece actually went to New York with a traveling show titled "The Changing Hands 3," and I have to admit that I was very honored in doing that.
Yeah, I remember that show, and it's pretty phenomenal that you go from entering these shows, not winning anything, to, it seems to me, I could be wrong, but winning a grand prize, and then that piece goes on a traveling show around the United States, right?
Right. It was going for 2 years. It traveled for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I've been in the Return from Exile show with pieces that have traveled around the United States. And I think it traveled for about 3 years. Mm-hmm. And but the winning these pieces, it took a while. It took a long time to develop pieces that would win.
So what we want to talk about now, let's talk about, we've talked about your style, we've talked about your journey into doing sculptures. Let's talk now about the actual pieces that are on the 2020 Cherokee Art Market marketing materials. And then we'll talk about your piece that is that you won the best of class with this year. In 2019, your best of class winning piece was titled Passing of a Generation. So would you tell us about that piece?
Sure. The word generation can be defined as a term of years among humans, accepted as the average period between the birth of their offspring. In this group of individuals, most of whom are the approximate age, has similar ideas, problems, and attitudes. The passing of a generation is the continuation of these stories, ideas, problems, and attitudes, as related from a previous generation to their children and to their children's children. A steel base signifies the strength and endurance of families, forging ahead in order to form a better life for the next generation. And centered on this foundation is a blindfolded figure, standing on two spears, giving the appearance of instability, and all the while balancing a life of uncertainty. On his shoulders stand the outcome of his stories, ideas, problems, and attitudes. And above all, the uplifting of a new generation whose arms are stretched out, and because of what their ancestors forged ahead, a new generation now has the chance to reach for the stars. These are, again, this is what I want to relay in this piece, and I would just like for it to speak these words, and I hope it does.
Yeah, that's amazing. For anyone that wants to see the piece in its entirety, if you go to CherokeeArtMarket.com, not really a shameless plug, but kind of a shameless plug. But if you want more information about Troy's best of class piece in 2019, Passing of a Generation, it is on the Cherokee Art Market virtual page right now. And it does share a lot of the background that Troy just shared with us on that piece. So I encourage everybody to go have a look at that as well. So again, this year, Troy, you are a best of class winner in sculpture with a piece titled Second Chronicles. So can you tell us about this piece that is also on the CherokeeArtMarket.com website as well, to go on and have a look at that? But will you tell us about your piece titled Second Chronicles?
Sure. I've just completed this piece, and there's a lot of things that I'm going over to try to understand actually of what it truly means. And it's very hard for me to talk about it at this time, but I'm sure that I have uncovered some things I want to in order to explain the meaning behind this work, and I will I will make an attempt. 2 Chronicles 7:14 is a verse that I've learned from the Bible. It states that if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. This piece, titled 2 Chronicles 7:14, is an actual extension of that verse. I think of this verse as a promise, as being a call to unity. And what a better time to do this than now, especially the division we're experiencing in our country. I did not mean for this to be a political piece, but I'm finding it more and more difficult not to include our country's problems in my art. For the most part, this piece is a statement. I hope it would stand in affirmation that we have a problem, and this problem needs to be fixed. In order to better understand it, the upward hands in humility, in contrast with a void in both our society and the foundation. I believe this piece is very symbolic for what is going on today. I would just prefer that it would be an awakening of what we need to do to fix this problem with our government, our society, and all of that. And I don't know that I'm supposed to even be saying that on this.
Wow.
But that's basically what the piece is for.
That's amazing. And, Troy, honestly, we have seen a lot of art pieces in this year's Cherokee Art Market that do speak to what's going on right now in society.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what art is about. It's about, expression. And we've seen that in the work of this year's Cherokee Art Market, that artists are pouring into their pieces their expression of what's been going on, this year in 2020. And so it's very impactful. It gives meaning behind each piece of work. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's great. Well, Troy, I think go ahead.
Well, I just think it's exciting that people are doing that, because I think 100 years from now that people are going to look back and just like our ancestors before us, they placed their work of what was going on in their time. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we need to do here in the 21st century. And so, yeah, that's exciting that people are doing that. Artists are doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just would encourage, we'll talk about it here in a second, but as folks are visiting the Cherokee Art Market online, then have a look at the pieces and read the descriptions of the pieces, because some of them are very evident, like the Best of Show winning piece, the gas mask that Dallin Lady produced about, pestilence and all of the plagues and COVID and everything. So it's very relative, to what's going on today in our society. So. Mm-hmm. Well, Troy,
I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Well, we're glad you are a part of it. Definitely. Thank you for taking a chance on us with this virtual Cherokee Art Market. It's a first for us, so hope you have found it to be relatively easy to maneuver and in loading your artwork and things like that.
Well, it's an experience, and it is something I guess we may be looking forward to for a while at least. It looks like so. But yeah, again, it's a learning experience.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, we're glad you joined us today. We're glad you joined us for the virtual Cherokee Art Market, and just keep up the good work. Keep producing that award-winning artwork, and we look forward to following you for years and years to come.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for all your hard work, all of you, and everyone that is associated with the Cherokee Art Market. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure. Well, as a reminder, this is the shameless plug that I was going to talk about. The virtual Cherokee Art Market will be open until midnight on Monday, December 21st. So we just encourage everybody to have a chance to go on the website, have a look around, and buy a piece of art from these artists that have continued to pour their hearts into their work, as you can see, and really support them in this time that has been so difficult for them to not be able to get out and go to shows. So this is a great way to continue to support artists. Again, the art market is you can visit the art market at CherokeeArtMarket.com. And thank you for your time. Thank you for letting us share this Cherokee Artist Showcase. And everybody have a great holiday season.